everyone, it's Zenos here, and I'm coming back with a collective. I haven't done a video since the dream one, so, and I really been planning to do one. I just haven't been in the best of spirits, in a sense. Anyway, throat is hurting. I'm just gonna read out before I start. Disclaimer: take what resonates. This doesn't dictate one fate or one linear path and whatnot. If it doesn't fit, don't force it. I think that's all. But anyway, it's gonna just be a collective reading. I'll just see what comes out, and it's just gonna be with the vibes. But anyway, you got the card Emotional Investment. You have Scorpio. It will all come together. Mental issues. That's way too many. Way too many. Strung out. Take poison. Disillusion, intoxication, old. I'm gonna get one more. Patience. And on the back you have look at the big picture and vague. Tarot cards already, Jesus. So starting off with the main issue in the middle is emotional investment. I feel like you're at a time where you're trying to pick and choose where you want to invest your emotional feelings into, whether it be platonic, romantic, familial. It's a time where everything is going to be shaken up and going to kind of shake out into something. You could be a Scorpio, or Scorpio could be in your chart, but there's a need for you to be patient, and I feel like there's really a need for you to be disillusioned, especially when it comes to your mental health and old patterns and behaviors. And seeing it will all come together and look at the big picture, I think that you're not looking at what could be. I feel like you're kind of stuck on the past and what hasn't worked out. And seeing strung out, I feel like an intoxication. I feel like there's an over excessive push into something that isn't good for you. Like for instance, for me, I intake a lot of sugar when I need to build up muscle and exercise. I need to cut out a lot of sugar, like snacks and stuff, in order for that to happen. And I always catch myself binge eating a lot, especially after work or when I feel like I'm too stressed. And I'm also getting a sense that a lot of you need to speak out about something, but you think that it would be a poor take, so you're kind of vague about everything that kind of goes on. But in the end, you need to see where you want this emotional investment, especially when it comes to yourself and your own sanity, perhaps. That's what I'm hearing. Like, you know, when it comes to yourself, what relationships are good for you and what aren't, what brings you joy, what doesn't, what makes you feel relaxed and what doesn't, you know. And I think a lot of you are intuitive. You can tell when something isn't right. But I feel like it's this need for you to be liked, you know. And I wouldn't say necessarily like all the time. It's just like there's this need for you not a need, but to a people pleaser type of attitude. And I myself, I have people pleaser tendencies, and I'm trying to move out of them, you know. So with Scorpio, that's my moon. And I was doing some research on Scorpio moon, and I do feel things a lot. I am often perceptive. I can see through people. But at the same time, it's like I kind of am vague with my own emotions. I don't really necessarily go too far into them or tell how exactly I feel, because I myself am still trying to process that, you know. But let's move into your tarot cards. And the main card we're going to be focused on is patience. And before, okay, here it is. I'm going to give you a quote before I continue on playing shit on the bed. But anyway, you have 16. Anyway, you have 16. It is indeed a desirable thing to be well descended, but the glory belongs to our ancestors. Plutarch? Plutarch? I don't know. Anger. Also see aggression, quarrel, temper. When angry, count 4. When very angry, swear. Mark Twain. Men often make up in wrath what they want in reason. William Roundsville Alger. So I feel like seeing these angry quotes. I just read 3. Seeing the angry quotes, I feel like there's a lot of high emotion that needs to be sought through. I just saw 11:11. Okay. So you have the 5 wands. It came out in reverse. I'm gonna keep it upright. You have the 9 of cups, the 8 of swords, the emperor in reverse, the star. It was in reverse too. Ace of swords. It was also in reverse. Death and the 8 of cups in reverse. And on the back you have the devil. Look at Samael. I'm gonna move the cards that were reversed back in reverse. And the only 2 Cups. The only two cards you have upright were the Nine of Cups and the Eight of Swords. And the rest were in reverse. I don't know why it's taking me a long time to say that, but anyway, starting off with the Five of Wands. I feel like there's this need for you to speak your truth, but there's a fear of, what's the term? Fear of backlash when it comes to speaking what your truth is. And with the Nine of Cups, it's typically seen as you have almost everything to that fulfillment that you want, which is the Ten of Cups. That's like the biggest fulfillment ever. But I feel like the only thing is missing is your truth, and you're only keeping yourself bound by seeing the Eight of Swords. It's like you're putting up a facade or like a persona instead of showing who you really are. If you can't show your truth or lack thereof, being honest not only with yourself and who you want to be, then there's no way other people are going to see yourself how you want to be seen. And I feel like that's going to lead to more resentment than you know. Anyway, there's this need for you to be more open and honest about who you are trying to be. There's this need for you to be more open and honest about who you are. 1515. I didn't mean trying to be, but meant to be. Because you're trying to be this facade, this persona, instead of being who you really are. And seeing as the Emperor, you have the Emperor, Death, the Star. Those are three major arcanas. And you also have the Devil on the back. So you're keeping yourself stuck in whatever this situation is that you aren't seeing. You have the Four of Pentacles and the Four of Cups on the back. So I feel like if you let go of this need for control and this need of control, then it would end up better for you. But you're too busy in this fear-stuck sensation, you know. And you also have the Eight of Cups. And the Ace of Swords. So I feel like there's this need for you to build up mental aptitude. What's that you mean? The natural ability to do something, suitability or fitness. Mental aptitude. But I feel like there's this need for you to build up this mental clarity and also like not be so, I wouldn't say careless, but not allowing yourself to be taken advantage of, especially when you know that something isn't right about someone else, you know, because you're going to keep yourself bounded in any situation that you don't want to be in. And I always say use your discernment because only you truly know what's good for you. You need to listen to your mind, your heart, and your body. If something in your spirit just feels unrested because of something or someone or some type of situation, then you need to trust yourself on that. There's also this need for you to build trust within yourself and pour your own flowing energy and emotions into yourself rather than pouring it out into someone else's cup or something else or outwardly. There's this need for you to cultivate your own self. Um, and I really think there's a need for you to start learning how to trust yourself and not feel as though you're leading yourself astray, because the sooner you let go of this false mask, the sooner you're going to be free to do whatever you want. And I'm also getting a different side to the Eight of Swords, is with someone else is showing a mask, but you can see who they really are. And I actually did say something like that earlier, but it wasn't those exact words. And I think that your wish fulfillment with the star, it's nearly there, but you're constantly being pushed out of this idea, this corner, this you're being pushed to do more than stay in your comfort zone, especially when it comes to who you are and who you are meant to be. So this is my other deck that I had got, the Karma cards. So I'm going to I always forget how they're supposed to line up. PSH. So, So, let's see. We're gonna see the outcome if you were, no. We're going to see the outcome if you were to freely express yourself, I would say. So we got the South Node. That's funny because my South Node is Scorpio. You have, okay, that's weird. You have another one, another planet card. I'm gonna keep that under there. Actually, you got the North Node on the back. So this really has to do with your South Node, your North Node, and your moon sign. And that's funny because my moon sign is also, Scorpio. You have South Node, Capricorn. Okay, let's see. If you were to speak here too, what is the outcome? And you have the 11th house. And the first house is on the back. So on the back you have Moon and Gemini in the first house. And for these cards you have the South Node and Capricorn in the 11th house. So spiritually, remember your goals for humanity's sake. So spiritually, it is saying that if you were to speak your truth, if you were to be open and honest about who you are meant to be or who you feel that you are, you need to remember why you feel that way, why you want to be that way, why you are who you are, and what purpose, like, look at the big picture. What purpose does that bring to who you are around, but especially to yourself. And I know what it's like. It's not easy breaking free from your fear, or, you know, being more confident in who you are trying to be, you know. And mentally, you have reconsider the day-to-day reality of your hopes and wishes. So mentally, I think you need to reconsider how you go about your day, how you internalize situations that you have. And the death card is like really apparent. And I don't really think we talked so much in depth about it, but seeing death, it's like you need to allow yourself to shed the old and allow the new to come in. Because the more you hold on to this idea of what is supposed to be true, or what is supposed to be your reality, basing yourself on what others think, it's not going to lead you to anything happier. It's just more so going to be a result for you, especially because you don't feel fulfilled in a sense. And physically, now is not the time to use the most businesslike way. Now is not the time to use the most businesslike way, and do it for the future. So what do you want your future to be? And it's not time for you to be, you know, when business like, it's like you're being cordial and all that, especially in a professional sense when it comes to, you know, being around people and stuff like that. So I really think that okay, so I'm going to turn these around in a little bit, but what I'm going to finish saying is you need to not allow your persona overrule what you need to not allow your persona to overrule who you are trying to be or who you are meant to be, especially because you are becoming someone who is more so for yourself rather than for others. It's like this this Tyler song Goblin. He's talking about how everybody is expecting so much of him, but the other voice, the therapist, so is saying that he is good enough. He doesn't need the approval of others. He's really just, you know, lacking this truth within himself, if that makes sense. So flipping these over, spiritually, there will not be dedication to achieve freedom. I feel like you're lacking the dedication to achieve the freedom that you want, which is freedom, like freedom in a sense of being yourself, or not allowing yourself to stay in this double standard, or double, I wouldn't really say double standard, but it's like I guess I could say double standard if it's for yourself, because if you're allowing yourself to be overruled by whatever it is you feel, I'm hearing you get treated how you feel you deserve to be treated. And I think that's probably the most, what's going to bring us to the mental part, anxiety about focusing on associations, because there's always going to be this fear or anxiety of how you're going to be associated, especially because labels and all that. You know how the LGBTQ community, they always get the shit end of the stick because the cishet normative society just views them not as favorable, I would say, in simpler terms. Especially, I treat my body like a temple. That's your affirmation for today. But it's not always in the best of ways of how you are being as a person. And feeling as though you're not going to get a favorable outcome, that's much enough to cause so much anxiety that it kind of overrules on your mental issues or mental things, you know. Physically, trouble resulting from the rules imposed by your circle of friends. So if you have trouble setting boundaries or putting up barriers or high expectations that come from being around people and who you have around you, I feel like that's also something that brings a lot of anxiety. Especially because I wouldn't say you are who you hang around, but when you allow a lot to get in the way of who you are trying to be, like if you know that somebody isn't good for you, which is friends, family, blah, 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 you're kind of going to become who you don't want to be, in a sense. And I feel like the trouble is mostly coming from the anxiety and the lacking of boundaries that you are setting for yourself. And I feel like you don't know how to set boundaries, especially if you have been imposed on by an authority figure, which is like the emperor is an authority figure. It's someone who is like this driven masculine figure. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a man to be a masculine figure. It could be a woman too, or a non-binary person. But it's someone who is mostly kind of like the backbone. It's typically seen as like the father figure, which is like the opposite of what the Empress is. The Empress is nurturing, is kind, caring, and the Emperor is like this force, this driven force, this person who is supposed to be the ambitious type and calculated, you know. But seeing as though if you've had trouble with setting boundaries growing up, or even setting boundaries now and having a people pleaser type of energy or attitude to you, I feel like there's a need for you to discern how that's affecting you and why you do it, as well as moving away from whatever it is. So really quick, I'm going to move these, and I'm going to look at what was on the back of the decks. Okay, so you have Moon and Gemini in the first house. No. So you have spiritually, defend what you want to be known immediately. So I think that, okay, this is exactly what I was just talking about earlier. Like literally just in a more simpler term. So there's a need for you to defend or be more open about who you are and who you are meant to be. Because the more you hide yourself, the harder it is going to be for you to break free from this internalized phobia, I would say, that you feel that you are, you know? Mentally accept what it is, what is believed about the way you project yourself. So how you project yourself, if you see yourself as a genuine person, then you second guess your motives and how you go about being a person. I feel like that's something that you need to work through. If you know your intentions, then you shouldn't worry about how somebody else is taking them. And I say take that with a grain of salt, because it's like, say that someone like, for example, for me, this past Saturday, I was talking to a coworker, and she was talking about setting me up with her brother, but I said no, and I wasn't into it, but I still ended up meeting him anyway. And the way that it was, she set it up, and I get that she had the best of intentions, but it just felt shiesty to me. So it just felt shiesty as hell. So I wasn't really messing with it, you know. So I really just didn't know how to deal with it. So I just went on this binge eating mode to help deal with the stress of that entire night. And it was especially hard because I'm not out of the closet to coworkers about being trans, and they still see me or perceive me as a woman when it's not even, close. But anyway, it's just been rough because I this is an issue that I have to deal with, and being open about something like that is not easy, especially because there's always this intense fear that I have around how I'm going to be perceived if I actually do make that known. And that has more so to do with me than about others, you know. But I do my best to still be honest about who I am. Like, if somebody would ask if I'm a girl, I would just say no, but I wouldn't really. And that's also what this vague card is like, you know. I'll be vague about who I am, but I'll be vague about the aspect of my transness, but I'll be honest about you know, who I am as a person. And it's not like being trans would take any value away from that. It's just the fact that we're not very well liked in the public eye. And if I say I'm trans, they could probably perceive me as a threat even. And you know, cis people are often threatened by a trans person because of how they perceive their own womanhood or manhood, or their femininity or masculinity. And you wouldn't really hear anything about an androgynous person, which is like how I identify. I identify as androgynous, or androgen, whatever, same difference. But you wouldn't really hear about that, because my sister, she was like, oh, I didn't know that androgynous was a thing. You know, she was just talking about femme or stud, mask, or all that stuff. She didn't know anything about androgynous people. So it's like I have this internalized fear that if I have to explain or talk about it in some way, that I wouldn't really be met with the best of reactions. But the weird thing is, like, I've met like 2 bisexual people there, and one of them is an older lady and the other one is like young, around my age. So that was like something rare to see like around me, because like anywhere I've been, I've always been surrounded by cishet people, and maybe that's an assumption on me because I saw 4114 but maybe that's an assumption by me because it's not really people aren't really out there. And when I asked her last night, my coworker, the older one, I asked her last night if she still liked women, and it wasn't like to be in a rude way. It was just like asking 4141, but it was just asking in the sense of you still like women, because like most of the people that I was around, like the women who said they had a fling with women, they often treated it like a phase instead of something that was part of their identity. And hearing her say that and being around her, it just like made me feel less afraid, because I've always had my guard up when it came to who I was and who I was trying to be and who I was meant to be. And it kind of makes me less scared about being who I am. And that's a boundary that I really have to push, to show myself and to not prove to anyone, but to just show myself that I can be who I am freely. And there's not really any, like, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. And it's not that I'm afraid to hear any transphobic comics or homophobic comments. It's just the fact that I'm scared of being assaulted, you know. That's the only fear I have when it really comes to me being trans. Because there are a lot of people who are stronger than me, and here I am coming out of eating disorder and being a little bit on the anorexic side. I wouldn't say fully anorexic, but it's just very weak bones or weak muscle mass that kind of affects me till today. But anyway, back to what I was saying. That was just like, I'm giving an example of how I perceive this mental card, because this is how I projected my own fears onto other people, in a sense, because of how I'm afraid of being seen as, but that's how I kind of internalized my transness and being out and open about who I am. And we're going to physically, like, your feelings tell you how to use the quickest way and do it on your own. And I feel like this is like using your intuition, trusting yourself and your discernment. And this is also something, the coworker who set me up with her brother, or tried to, she asked me if I wanted to go out to party. And when I first met her, I was like, okay, sure. It was just a one-time thing, because I'm not really a party person. I don't like going out. But the second time around, I just said no. Not straight away. Like, I had to really think about it. But I really just said no, because I don't like drinking. I don't really like smoking. I don't like doing any of that. I really just prefer to be alone and to be with my own devices. That's how I internalize my own self. And I don't mind hanging out with friends or talking to people or interacting, but being on the spectrum, I really just can't handle being around people for long periods of time, because it gets really draining on my psyche and my energy. And it's like, when I was there last night, I started, doing my tics and, repetitive movements and stuff. So that's how I knew that I wasn't really feeling the best, especially because I had lost my trans heart pin. And that really set me off when I felt like that. I don't know what was going on, but I just knew that I wasn't in the mood to socialize or anything. So I just kind of stayed silent and was in my own space. And the only time I ever talked was when I needed to, or when I was telling somebody that they were doing something, or, trying to, make sure everything was running smoothly. So we have the nurturing of, this is the other side, spirituality, the nurturing of information to explain who you are. Okay, spirit. I feel like I'm being called out here. Especially because of this. So when I made a promise to myself, like, early this morning when I got off work, I was like, okay, when I go back into work tonight, I'm gonna try to come out of the closet, like, dip my toe out, like, I already dipped a whole foot out, like half of my body out, when talking about my sexuality, like, I'm bisexual and stuff. But for some reason, that was so much easier to explain than saying I'm trans. I don't know what the issue is, but that's just how I internalized it. How I came about explaining who I am to myself, or to other people, And I feel like I cannot make it any more simpler by saying that I actually could, but I'm kind of beating around the bush, being vague, vague about who I am. Like, I'll say, oh, I don't, I was, like, somebody asked me what I said earlier. Somebody asked me if I was a girl, and I said no. but I didn't bother explaining anything above that, or saying that, oh, I'm a boy, or my pronouns are they, he, or something like that, you know? So, yeah. Anyway, mentally, feeling caused by communications about your desires. Feelings caused by communications about your desires. So this is probably unresolved feelings that you feel, going back to this, how it was before, accepting who you are, and and how you see yourself, and kind of defending who you want to be known as. This is like unresolved feelings, and like, I would say deep-rooted trauma, especially because of how you kind of moved about and grew up. Like, I would say one of the worst things about coming out and coming out to family was my cousin who was lesbian. She told me that a real trans person would be ashamed and probably beat me up for how I presented myself. And I kind of knew that she's never interacted with a trans person, like, at all, other than me. That's how I felt, because trans people I have been around, they didn't care about gender norms or anything like that, but they did care about how they were being perceived, like using the correct pronouns and stuff like that. But it's like, I, that was probably the worst thing that I had felt. And I know that sticks and stones break my bones, words can never hurt me, but those words really hurted, especially when it came from a family member who's supposed to be in the same community as you and supposed to have this understanding about you, but not in a sense of like, oh, you're this way, so, but I just felt like that if you really wanted to be around someone, you would just have a sense of security in your own self and not judge them for who they are trying to be or who they're trying to put themselves out as. And physically, reactions resulting from the fluctuations of your actions. So if you feel like how this Gemini is, it has two faces. This is another thing, that you got a masquerade card and two faces on here. So it's like a fluctuations of who you are presenting yourself as, this mask that you have, that you are having so much trouble showing. That's what I'm seeing. So the reactions that you have are resulting from the feelings that you have, and those feelings are going to cause your emotions to fluctuate. You also have 111. So I feel like that's also something that has a lot to do with, presenting yourself and being who you are. So understanding your unresolved emotions and where that emotional trauma comes from, I feel like that will really do you some good. And discerning yourself and discerning, parts of who you are trying to be and who you are trying to showcase yourself as, and getting out of that persona that you are hiding yourself with. And this really has a lot to say about me, because I also kind of hide in a persona. So I'm going to give you 2 tarot cards for advice, and 3 cards from here as advice. I just saw 52. Scorpio is coming out again. Insects. Love interest and hate behind your back. That came out with love interest. Are you serious, for fuck's sake? An apology. So I feel like there's going to be this moment, for advice, I would say, You can't control how somebody feels about you. You can't control how somebody feels about you, but you can control how you react. Um, and seeing love interest, I feel like there's an apology coming your way. Um, somebody who either has interest in you, or someone who you always had, or the Scorpio. The Scorpio could also be a love interest, or be in your chart, or be you. But it's going to mostly just be something that was a long time coming, I feel. And the advice is, like I said, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Pay attention to the insects that are around you, or insects that you see. And I would say use your discernment about who is sending evil eye or negative emotions and blah blah blah, all that. Saw 54-45, so there's a lot of mirroring energy here. You got the 8 of Pentacles. Okay, 3 cards came out. What's with this? Now the 2 of Cups and the Page of Cups. 2 of Swords and the Page of Cups. So we got a lot of swords here. You have a lot of swords. Oh my. Okay. So you have the 8 of Pentacles and Licabel God the teacher. They are looking at a scroll and floating on a cloud. So I feel like there's this cloud 9 energy that you could have. She's really affectionate right now. I'm just trying to tell her to chill. But there's this really cloud 9 energy that you could have if you just make the decision that you are prolonging. And the Page of Cups is also an offer that you could make that is coming your way. And I feel like this has much to do with the love interest too. Or if you want to make an offer to someone. I'm getting. But that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it juicy in the koozie. And before I say peace the fuck out, I gotta say, if you want to donate, I have links below. If you want to follow me on social media, also links down there. And thank you so much for watching. Keep it juicy in the koozie, and peace the fuck out.